This strike is affecting hundreds of thousands of students. It is unfair to them to keep them out any longer. The semester is in jeopardy of being lost. Had we passed this legislation on Thursday or even on Friday, students would have and could have been in the classroom by Monday.
The ayes being 37 and the nays being 18, I declare the motion carried.
Second reading of the bill. Deuxième lecture du projet de loi.
Shall the bill be ordered for third reading?
Good evening. It's a rare weekend here at Queen's Park where Ontario's legislature spoke about a bill trying to pass a bill that would put an end to the province's record-breaking 5-week college strike. Now, the Liberals penned this back-to-work legislation. It was supported by the Conservatives but heavily opposed by the NDP, who again today voted against it.
We took one more step, but the NDP continued to block the passage of the legislation. It was a textbook case of collective bargaining. We supported the parties. We were helpful wherever there was an opportunity to be helpful, but we let them come to their own conclusion, and only when it reached an absolute deadlock did we move forward with back-to-work legislation. Students, of course, are the biggest losers in all of this. And it's very distressing to see the NDP be so disrespectful of students that they won't even pass the legislation, that they're dragging out, that they're blocking the return to classes.
Why not allow for the bill to pass and allow for teachers and students to get back to school as soon as possible?
Teachers and students will be getting back to school in the same time frame than they would have had nothing been different than the way we've done it. I think it's important to recognize that this government is trying to ram through, and we're not letting them ram it through. We're going to do our due diligence and debate the bill, anti-worker legislation that infringes on the charter rights of the college faculty. That's the truth. That's what's happening here. And for a cabinet minister, a minister of the Crown, to suggest that any legislator should pass through legislation without even reading it, that is the height of irresponsibility, and shameful that anyone should suggest that would happen.
The strike has kept 500,000 students and 12,000 college faculty out of school since mid-October, as both sides haven't been able to come to an agreement. The Liberals tabled their back-to-work legislation after talks between the Ontario Public Service Employees Union and the College Employer Council failed late this week. The government's second attempt to pass the bill unanimously on Friday failed and led to this weekend's debates. Though backed by the Progressive Conservatives, the Liberals say the NDP is delaying students returning to the classroom. But both sides expect the bill to pass on Sunday, which means classes will likely resume Tuesday. The head of OPSU is also criticizing the government for how it's handled the legislation, but says the strike has been a victory and hopes the government addresses some of their long-term concerns.
We've got the task force, right? So the government's still committed to the task force. That'll look at the whole, the whole college system. But we've really put on the agenda and on the public's minds even more. We started in the Liquor Control Board collective agreement, equal pay for equal work, part-time, predominantly female casual workers. We've done that in the college system. It's really moving the yardsticks forward on that front. So from that perspective, yes, it's a win. Whether it's a win, in everyday work life for the members will depend on what comes out of the arbitration process.
So does this bill take away from what the union and its workers and members have been fighting for?
Absolutely not. In fact, that task force that I talked about, one of the things that it will be charged with doing is looking at exactly that issue.
Is there a clear side here that wins or loses?
Well, I think everybody loses when a deal is not found at the bargaining table.
House will reconvene here tomorrow for a third reading of the bill. As mentioned, that is expected to pass, but 5 weeks is a significant amount of time for students to be out of school. Ahead, I'll tell you what some of the colleges are doing to help those students play catch up. We'll also hear from a professor and his concerns about heading back to work.
It was a day of debates here at a rare session inside Queen's Park where MPPs debated a bill that would put an end to the province's record-breaking 5-week-long college strike. Now, the NDP voted against this legislation on Friday. They did the same thing again here this afternoon after a second reading, though both sides of this bill expect for this bill to get passed. There's still some concerns amongst teachers about heading back to work.
I believe we had a legal right to continue that strike and it shouldn't have been taken away. But I know that it is very difficult being on strike for 5 weeks and then going back and having to work with people again and be collegial. I know that in the classrooms it's going to be fine because we are professionals. We are highly trained professionals who care deeply about our students. I would hasten to say, out of any of the stakeholders in this discussion, faculty care more about students than any of the other. We are the ones who know them, we care about them, we talk to them, we support them, we mentor them. We care deeply about our students, so we will do everything we can to make sure that the transition for students is successful. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a lot of extra work to help those students to get through the rest of this, what is obviously going to be a difficult semester. And I'm very concerned that the return to work protocol should ensure that we are paid for that extra work that we're going to do.
Colleges have been planning a variety of scenarios as to when the students will be back in school, but since the expectation is that the bill will pass tomorrow, students will be back in the classrooms on Tuesday. Now, students have lost a significant amount of class time, and frustration has been building over the missed workload. For that reason, some of Toronto's colleges, including Humber and Sheridan, are also extending the fall term into the new year, and the winter semester will have a late start in January. As a result, thousands of students will also get a shorter Christmas break. And the colleges we spoke to today say there's still some details that need to be ironed out. For that reason, they're telling their students to keep checking their emails, check the websites for the latest on this strike and how it will affect their schedules. You can also tune into our website, citynews.ca, for the latest on the strike.